Welcome to Fractured Chaos.
I never thought I'd be making this video. The camera light blinks back at me, steady and patient, unlike my heartbeat that hasn't found its rhythm in months. My hands tremble slightly as I adjust the frame. Behind me is a blank wall. I've learned not to reveal anything about my surroundings anymore. Not even a houseplant. Not even art. My name is Alexa Wheeler, I begin, my voice steadier than I expected. And this is a warning about how quickly a relationship can transform from love to obsession, and how technology makes stalking easier than ever before. 3 months ago, my life followed a comfortable pattern. I had recently finished my master's in digital marketing, landed a job at a respected agency, and moved into my dream apartment in the city. Sure, I was recovering from what I then considered a bad breakup with Michael, but I was moving forward. My friends had been trying to set me up for months, but I'd refused every attempt. Until Danny's birthday party. "Just come for the cake," Danny had insisted over the phone. "You don't even have to talk to anyone." Of course, that was a lie. The moment I arrived at the rooftop bar, Danny practically shoved me toward a tall man with kind eyes who was nursing a whiskey at the corner of the counter. "James, this is my brilliant friend Alexa I've been telling you about," Danny announced before disappearing with surprising speed for someone in 6-inch heels. James Palmer looked up from his drink and smiled. A genuine smile that reached his eyes, not the practiced charm I'd grown wary of. "The digital marketing guru? Danny's mentioned you in about every conversation we've had since I started working with her. We connected instantly. Same dry humor, similar taste in indie music bands no one else seemed to know, and both of us were obsessed with true crime podcasts, particularly the investigative journalism kind that helped solve cold cases. After my turbulent 2-year relationship with Michael Collins, James felt like stepping into sunlight after being trapped in a windowless room. "What got you into true crime?" I asked, genuinely curious as we leaned against the railing, the city lights sparkling below us. "My sister's a detective," he explained. "Growing up, I'd overhear her cases. I guess I developed a respect for how evidence tells a story when people won't or can't." There was something in the way he said it that suggested depth beyond casual interest. When the party began winding down, James asked for my number. In a moment of spontaneity, or perhaps cosmic timing, Danny captured us laughing together, my head tilted back mid-laugh, his eyes clearly admiring. I posted it on Instagram with the caption, "Sometimes birthday parties aren't so bad after all. Thanks for the push, Danny Rodriguez." What I didn't realize that night was that Michael had never stopped monitoring my online presence. The photo I posted with James? Michael saw it within minutes. According to the timestamps I would later discover, he viewed it exactly 47 seconds after it went live. And that's when the nightmare began. The first message came at 3:17 a.m., jolting me from sleep. "He's not who you think he is, Alexa. I'm only trying to protect you. James Palmer has a history you should know about." I stared at Michael's name on my phone screen, heart pounding. We hadn't spoken in 4 months, not since I'd packed my things from his apartment and left while he was at work, the culmination of months of arguments that had grown increasingly volatile. I'd left a note, simple and final. "This isn't working. Please don't contact me." And he hadn't until now. I blocked his number immediately and tried to go back to sleep, telling myself this was just a desperate attempt to regain control. A classic move from the Michael playbook. When he couldn't manipulate me directly, he'd try to control my perception of others. The next morning, I debated whether to tell James about the message. We had only been on 2 dates. Wonderful, laughter-filled dates where hours passed like minutes. Was it worth bringing up my ex's behavior so early? Instead, I called my best friend Lynn. "He's trying to get in your head," Lynn said firmly after I explained. "Classic manipulation. Block him everywhere. Email, social media, everything. He'll get the message." I followed her advice, methodically blocking Michael across all platforms. For a few days, silence reigned. James and I continued dating, museum visits where we spent more time people-watching than looking at exhibits, cooking dinners in my apartment while debating the merits of different true crime podcasters, walking through the city at night, talking about everything and nothing. 2 weeks into dating James, the first email arrived in my inbox from an unfamiliar address. "You don't know me, but I've been seeing James Palmer for the past 3 months. I just saw your photo with him and thought you should know. I've attached screenshots of our conversations from yesterday." My stomach tightened as I opened the attachment. There he was, undeniably James, sending flirtatious messages to someone named Melissa at the exact time he'd told me he was at a work meeting. The screenshots showed intimate conversations, plans made, even a photo of James I hadn't seen before. Before I could process this, another email arrived from a different address. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but James has been seeing me since January. Here's proof. A third email followed an hour later, this one claiming a 6-month relationship. All 3 women had screenshots. All 3 had photos of James that looked recent. All 3 had conversations timestamped during periods when James and I were apart. My mind raced back to Michael's warning. How could he have known? Unless... When I confronted James that evening, showing him the emails on my phone, he seemed genuinely bewildered. No defensive anger, no immediate denials, just confusion. "Alexa, I'm not seeing anyone else," he said quietly. "I haven't dated anyone seriously in over a year before you." He hesitated, then handed me his phone, unlocked. "Look through everything. Messages, emails, dating apps, anything you want." I felt uncomfortable invading his privacy, but needed to know the truth. As I scrolled through his phone, something caught my attention. The texting style in the screenshots from the emails was nothing like James's actual messages. James used proper punctuation and wrote in complete sentences. He rarely used emojis, maybe a simple smile occasionally. The messages in the screenshots were littered with them, used multiple exclamation points, and had text-speak abbreviations James never used. "These aren't your messages," I said slowly. "Someone created fake conversations using your photos." James frowned, taking back his phone to study the screenshots more carefully. "These photos, some are from my private Instagram, but others..." He pointed to one where he was at a coffee shop. "I never posted this anywhere. Someone took this picture without me knowing." That's when the realization crystallized. Michael hadn't just been watching my social media. He'd been watching James too. "There's something I should show you," I told James, walking to my kitchen drawer where I kept miscellaneous items I hadn't sorted yet. I pulled out an envelope, slightly yellowed at the edges from sitting untouched for months. "Michael left this at my apartment the day after our breakup. I never opened it." The letter had arrived with a bouquet of lilies, my favorite flowers, though I'd never told Michael that. He'd overheard me mentioning it to a friend. At the time, I'd thrown away the flowers but couldn't bring myself to discard the letter, some part of me not quite ready for such finality. With James watching, I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small bronze key. "Alexa, by the time you read this, you'll probably hate me. I understand. I haven't been the man you deserve, but there's so much you don't know. About me, about us, about why I am the way I am. I've been keeping something from you, something I've never shown anyone. The enclosed key opens storage unit number 247 at Westlake Storage on 8th Street. Go alone. What you'll find there will change everything you think you know about me, about us. It might even change how you see yourself. I'll always love you, even if you never love me again. Michael." I looked up at James, who had grown visibly tense. "You're not considering going, are you?" he asked. I hesitated. "I think I need to. These fake profiles, the warnings, Michael is clearly planning something, and this might help me understand what." "Then I'm coming with you," James said firmly. I shook my head. "The letter specifically says to go alone. If Michael is watching, and it seems he is, bringing you might provoke him further." "Alexa, this is exactly how horror movies start," James argued. "At least let me drive you and wait in the car." We compromised. James would drive me to the storage facility, but remain in the parking lot. I would keep my phone on, connected to a call with him the entire time. If anything seemed off, I would leave immediately. The following afternoon, we pulled into Westlake Storage's parking lot, a nondescript facility with rows of identical orange doors. Unit 247 was located in the back corner, partially obscured by a large oak tree that cast dappled shadows across the pavement. "I don't like this," James said as I prepared to exit the car. "Something feels wrong." I squeezed his hand. "I'll be quick. Just stay on the line." With the phone in my pocket connected to James, I walked to unit number 247. The key slid into the lock smoothly, as if it had been recently used. The metal door rolled upward with a grinding noise that set my teeth on edge. Inside, The storage unit was meticulously organized, nothing like Michael's usually cluttered approach to possessions. The walls were covered with corkboards, each filled with photos, documents, and handwritten notes connected by red string. A desk stood in the center with a closed laptop on it, beside a stack of journals. But what made my breath catch was seeing myself staring back from nearly every photo on the walls. Me walking into my office building, me getting coffee at my regular cafe, me leaving the gym, hair damp from a shower, me having dinner with Lynn at our favorite restaurant, dated 3 weeks after Michael and I had broken up. There were hundreds of photos, all clearly taken without my knowledge, creating a visual timeline of my life post-breakup. "James," I whispered into the phone, "you need to see this." "What is it?" His voice crackled through the speaker. "Photos, hundreds of them. He's been following me since we broke up." "I'm coming in," he said, and I heard his car door slam through the phone. While waiting for James, I noticed something even more disturbing, an entire section dedicated to James himself. Photos of him going to work, at the gym, having lunch alone. Some dated back several weeks before I'd even met him at Danny's party. James arrived at the storage unit entrance, his expression darkening as he took in the walls of surveillance. "He's been stalking you," he said quietly, examining the photos. "But why am I here? How did he even know about me before we met?" I shook my head, equally confused, until I spotted a particular photo, James and Michael, standing together in what appeared to be an office setting, dated 3 years ago. Next to it was a newspaper clipping. Local tech company fires employee after harassment claims. Michael's name was highlighted in the article. I turned to one of the journals on the desk and began reading entries from 3 years prior. April 15th. Palmer reported me today. Claims my attention towards Sarah was inappropriate and concerning. He has no idea what Sarah and I share. She smiles at me every morning. It's not my fault she has a jealous boyfriend who doesn't understand our connection. April 20th. HR meeting tomorrow. Palmer has poisoned everyone against me. I see him watching me in the break room, probably worried I'll reveal his own secrets. Two can play at this game. April 28th. Fired today. Palmer was there, looking so self-righteous. He thinks he's won, but this is just the beginning. I've started following him. He lives alone. Security system looks basic. Windows on the east side are obscured by trees. The journal continued, documenting Michael's growing obsession with James, whom he blamed entirely for being fired after James had reported Michael's harassment of a female co-worker named Sarah. "Alexa," James said quietly, his face pale as he looked at the photos of himself. "I remember this now. Michael didn't just get fired from our company. He was arrested for stalking that same co-worker afterward. There was a restraining order." "Why didn't you recognize his name when I mentioned my ex?" I asked, trying to put the pieces together. "He used a different name at work. Collins wasn't the name on his badge or email. He went by Michael Reeves." "His mother's maiden name," I whispered, remembering Michael once mentioning he sometimes used it. James continued examining the walls while I leafed through the most recent journal entries. February 10th. Alexa left today. I let her think it was her decision. Sometimes you need to let the bird think it's flying free before you bring it home again. She'll understand eventually why we belong together. March 3rd. She's healing. I can see it in how she holds herself when she leaves her apartment now. Soon she'll be ready for me to return. The perfect moment will present itself. April 12th. Disaster. Saw her with him tonight. Of all people, Palmer. This can't be coincidence. Is he using her to get to me? 3 years of planning my return to her, and he appears in our story again. She looked happy in the photo she posted. She never smiled like that with me. Palmer will pay for this, for everything. The most recent entry was from just 3 days ago. The emails were just the beginning. Alexa is smart. She'll figure out they're fake, but seeds of doubt will be planted. Palmer isn't who she thinks he is. Neither am I. The storage unit key was always my backup plan. Once she sees how I've protected her, watched over her, she'll understand. And if she doesn't, well, there are other ways to ensure Palmer can't have her either. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just about me anymore. I wasn't simply an ex Michael couldn't let go of. I was a pawn in his revenge fantasy against James. A fantasy that had been building for 3 years. "We need to go to the police," James said firmly. "Now." The police station smelled of coffee and floor cleaner. Detective Ramirez, a woman with shrewd eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, listened carefully as we explained the situation. I showed her photos I'd taken of the storage unit walls, the journal entries, and the emails from the fake accounts. "Did you remove anything from the storage unit?" she asked. "No," I answered. "We didn't want to disturb potential evidence." She nodded approvingly. "Smart. We'll get a warrant for the unit. In the meantime, I suggest you both document everything. Any unusual incidents, unexpected encounters, unfamiliar cars on your street. Note it all." "Can we file for restraining orders?" James asked. "You can," Detective Ramirez said, "but building a solid case takes time. Mr. Collins has been careful. The photos alone aren't enough to charge him with stalking unless we can prove he took them. The fake profiles are more promising, but we'll need digital forensics to trace them back to him." She handed us each a card. "Call me directly if anything escalates. And Ms. Wheeler," she fixed me with a serious gaze, "consider staying somewhere other than your apartment for a while." As we left the police station, James offered his guest room. "My building has security, and you'd be safer than alone at your place." I considered it, but something held me back. If I leave my apartment, it's like letting him win, letting him control my movements. Instead, I called a locksmith that afternoon and had my locks changed. I installed a security camera at my front door that sent alerts to my phone. James helped me put blackout curtains on all my windows. For a week, things were quiet. No more emails from fake girlfriends. No signs of Michael. Detective Ramirez informed us they had secured the storage unit as evidence and were building a case. Then Michael escalated. It started with a comment on my Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. "You should be more careful about what you share online, Alexa. Anyone could be watching." The next day, flowers were delivered to my workplace. Lilies, just like after our breakup. The card simply read, "I'm still waiting for you to understand." My coworkers thought it was romantic. I felt sick. That weekend, I found a slip of paper under my apartment door, a printed screenshot of James entering a hotel with a woman whose face was blurred. The timestamp showed it was from 2 days earlier, when James had told me he was meeting clients for dinner. When I confronted him, showing him the photo, James looked genuinely confused. "That's my sister Lauren," he said, pulling out his phone and showing me texts arranging their meeting. "She was in town for one night on a layover. I told you I was meeting her after my client dinner." He was right. He had mentioned it. But the seed of doubt had been planted, exactly as Michael had intended. I could feel mistrust creeping in despite my best efforts. Things deteriorated rapidly from there. My social media accounts began posting things I never wrote. Edited photos that made it look like I was at clubs when I was actually at home. Captions implying I was cheating on James. My family called, concerned about my erratic behavior online. Friends stopped responding to messages, unsure what to believe. "He's hacked your accounts," James said, helping me change passwords and set up two-factor authentication. "He's trying to isolate you." James stood by me through it all, but I could see the strain. Each time his phone buzzed, I wondered if it was another fabricated piece of evidence being sent to him about me. Each time he was late meeting me, I questioned whether he was pulling away, tired of the chaos that now surrounded my life. "I wouldn't blame you if you wanted out," I told him one night as we sat in my living room, curtains drawn, security system armed. "This isn't what you signed up for." He took my hand, his expression serious. "Alexa, this isn't about what I signed up for. Michael targeted me long before he met you. In some twisted way, you're caught in the middle of something that started years ago. I'm not abandoning you to face this alone." His loyalty only made me more determined to end Michael's game. If the police needed more evidence, I would get it for them. "What if we turned the tables?" I suggested to James the next day. "Michael thinks he's the puppet master, but what if we pulled some strings of our own?" The plan formed quickly. With Detective Ramirez's cautious approval, I created a fake social media account under the name Claire Wilson, complete with a backstory as a woman who had briefly dated James and discovered his true nature. Using stock photos and carefully constructed posts dating back several months, I built Claire's digital footprint. Then I reached out to Michael. "Michael, my name is Claire. I found your contact through some research. I think we share an enemy. James Palmer ruined my life too. I've seen what he's doing to Alexa now. If you're trying to warn her, I want to help. For 3 days, nothing. Then a response. Claire, how did you find me? What did Palmer do to you? For 2 agonizing weeks, I lived a double life. As Alexa, I continued documenting Michael's escalating harassment, changing my routines, and working with the police. As Claire, I gained Michael's trust, feeding his delusions about James and expressing increasing concern for my friend Alexa, who wouldn't listen to warnings. Each night, I felt physically ill, pretending to sympathize with Michael's distorted reality, but Detective Ramirez assured me we were building a strong case. Every message was documented and added to the evidence file. He's becoming more comfortable with Claire, I told James and Detective Ramirez during one of our regular meetings. He's starting to share details about his plans. What kind of details? Detective Ramirez asked, suddenly alert. I pulled up the most recent exchange on my laptop. Claire, I'm worried about Alexa. She's not listening to anyone about James. Michael, she will soon. I've gathered enough to make her see the truth. Claire, what do you mean? Michael, let's just say I've been collecting evidence she can't ignore. Tomorrow night, I'm going to her apartment to confront them both. I've been inside before when she's not home. I have a key to the new locks. Detective Ramirez read the message twice. This is significant. He's admitting to breaking and entering and declaring intent to do it again. We can use this. What do you mean he has a key to my new locks? I asked, my voice shaking. How is that possible? He might be bluffing, James suggested, trying to impress Claire with his abilities. Or he made a copy when your locksmith was there, Detective Ramirez said grimly. Some stalkers go to extraordinary lengths, bribing service workers, posing as roommates or partners. She pulled out her phone. I'm arranging for officers to be stationed near your apartment tomorrow night. You and James need to be elsewhere, somewhere safe Michael doesn't know about. No, I said firmly. If he's coming to my apartment, that's our chance to catch him. I want to set up cameras, hidden ones he won't notice even if he searches for them. Detective Ramirez hesitated. It's risky. Not if we're not actually there, I countered. James and I will go to a hotel. The cameras will record everything. If Michael breaks in, you'll have him on multiple charges. After much discussion, Detective Ramirez agreed to my plan, with conditions. She helped me install small, sophisticated cameras throughout my apartment, in air vents, inside books on shelves, hidden in decorative objects. Each camera uploaded footage directly to a secure server the police could monitor in real time. That evening, James and I checked into a hotel 10 blocks from my apartment, using false names as an extra precaution. 4 plainclothes officers were stationed strategically around my building, with Detective Ramirez coordinating from a surveillance van parked down the street. At 11:43 p.m., my phone buzzed with an alert from my security system, front door open. Detective Ramirez texted immediately. We see him. Stay where you are. Through the live camera feed on my laptop, we watched as Michael entered my apartment using a key. He moved with the confidence of someone familiar with the space, going directly to my bedroom. There, he systematically placed tiny cameras in my light fixtures, behind picture frames, and, most disturbingly, inside my smoke detector directly above my bed. He's been planning this for weeks, James whispered, his face pale in the blue light of the screen. Next, Michael moved to my kitchen. From his backpack, he removed a small vial of clear liquid, which he carefully added to a bottle of wine in my refrigerator. A bottle James had brought over for dinner 2 nights before, that we hadn't opened. Detective Ramirez's text came through. Officers moving in now. On screen, we watched as Michael froze at the sound of police identifying themselves at my door. He attempted to flee toward my fire escape, but officers were waiting there too. The arrest was swift and without incident. Later testing revealed the liquid to be GHB, commonly known as a date rape drug. A search of Michael's phone uncovered the most chilling evidence of all, a detailed document titled Palmer Erasure, outlining a plan to drug James, stage an accident that would remove him permanently, and frame me for it using the hidden camera footage he'd been collecting. Michael Collins was charged with stalking, breaking and entering, possession of an illegal substance with intent to harm, conspiracy to commit murder, and a host of cybercrimes related to the fake profiles and hacking my accounts. The evidence was overwhelming, bolstered by the storage unit contents and his own detailed documentation of his plans. During the investigation, police discovered connections between Michael and 3 other stalking cases in the city, Women who had rejected him years before me, who had been experiencing similar harassment, but hadn't connected it to him. My coming forward helped those women find closure too. At Michael's arraignment, I saw him in person for the first time since our breakup. He looked smaller somehow, diminished without his digital shields and elaborate schemes. When our eyes met across the courtroom, I expected to see hatred, or even the twisted affection he'd claimed in his journals. Instead, I saw nothing, a blank emptiness that chilled me more than any emotion could have. The judge denied bail, citing the detailed plans for violence and Michael's demonstrated ability to create false identities. As he was led away, Michael never looked back at me. Recovery has been a process. For weeks afterward, I found myself checking for surveillance, scrutinizing every social media interaction, startling at unexpected sounds. I sought therapy to process the violation and fear. James did too, both individually and together. We worked through the trauma of being targeted so methodically by someone consumed with revenge. 6 months later, Michael remains in custody awaiting trial. I have a permanent restraining order. James and I are still together. Our relationship deepened and strengthened after weathering a storm neither of us saw coming. We've moved to a new apartment building with enhanced security, changed our social media habits, and learned to trust our instincts. Sometimes love stories have unexpected villains. I'm sharing this because stalking and revenge aren't just movie plots. They happen in real life, and they can escalate faster than you imagine. Technology makes it easier than ever for someone to monitor your life from a distance, to create false realities, to isolate you from support systems. If you're experiencing anything like this, document everything. Trust your instincts. That feeling that something is off exists for a reason. Don't be afraid to sound paranoid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. No one deserves to live in fear. The storage unit where Michael meticulously documented his obsession now serves a different purpose. Its contents provided critical evidence that connected him to 3 other stalking cases. My coming forward helped those women find justice too. Sometimes facing your worst nightmare can lead to protection for others. Remember, blocked doesn't always mean gone. A digital footprint can be followed. And sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who once claimed to love you. I check the camera before me, its light still blinking steadily. My hands no longer tremble. Stay safe out there, I say, reaching forward to end the recording. And remember, trust yourself first,